Okay, so here I am doing a tier list with the tier list connoisseur WeFox himself, and together we have played a shit ton of card games. I think I've played more, but like this is the list we made just a few seconds ago, and there's a couple we don't know much about, or I don't know much about, but we are intrigued to try. So we'll discuss those two because they make some kind of conversation. So I think that's how we're gonna do with a couple of criteria here. So criteria, since it's gonna be very hard and this very subjective list, I should say. No, it's actually objective because I'm always right. But for one, we'll be discussing about the competitive skiing, how good it is, and how healthy it is with the game balance, and how easy it is to stay on top because certain games have way more RNG and luck to them. So you can't really top tournaments back to back or make top 8 or something like that. Then we have also the gameplay depth with the mechanics and how fun are they? Are you just slamming in stats and swinging at each other or making some crazy synergy plays? Which also depends obviously based on deck, but that's more about on the game mechanics, I suppose. And then how fun is the game? To each of their own, I suppose. And then also, last but not least, but the art of the game and the theme of the game, and that is also what like draws a lot of people into a card game. So yeah, you got anything to say?
Yeah, hi, first and foremost. You did kind of introduce me, but yeah, I'm Fox. I'm just here. But yeah, as Yuda said, I'm a tier list connoisseur. Less of a card game expert for sure than he alluded to, but I played like most of these. Yeah, most of these. And yeah, the list isn't exhaustive. There's stuff like White Schwartz, Dragon Ball, many others. We're not going to be talking about all of them because we don't know all of them. So we just have the ones here, like Yudo said, that we actually are most interested in and actually have something to say about.
Yeah, and this is kind of an interesting between us because you are more of a casual player and
For sure.
I'm always taking the game to a competitive
Yeah.
uh, level and like the perspective of things. So that will be interesting to see the perspectives between uh, us. So, anyways, what game should we start with? Let's go in order, shall we? Digimon card
Sure.
game.
Well,
I'll just slap it in the middle and we'll discuss and move it up and down as we go. So,
you know this is near and dear to my heart, but
yeah.
why don't you get started with the criteria? What do you have to say about them according to those?
Okay, so firstly, um, I think Digimon card game at least half a year ago, a year ago, I don't know, as of now, but it is pretty healthy and
Mm-hmm.
there is stuff to do, decks to play, and people are playing it. So on that, no, it is good on that tier.
Yep, I would definitely agree. And for the health of the game too, like I think I mean I think all of these are gonna have some sort of power creep, and genuinely I think like
Yeah,
Digimon.
that is mostly on or like usually a fault to a Japanese card game design philosophy, which I
Yeah,
don't personally like, but people like to see big stuff happening, big numbers. So
yeah, and I mean you guys sell product, you know. But yeah, I think like low key, I think Digimon is like not that bad when it comes to power creep. Certainly you have like if you're talking about like BT1 decks in today's format, like you're probably not gonna have a great time.
nah,
But
I think it went off charts. Like what was it? Like when the X sets came after BT8.
oh really? Huh.
Yeah, I think that it
Interesting.
started to go like power crap from there and BT5 a bit. And after that, it was like a slow slope, and then I think it spiked. Because then you started to have cards like Gaia's Force being printed as a better versions for dual colors, as an example, and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So we tried to play a little, you having always, or not always, but from time to time, updated decks like every half a year or something,
Mhm.
like the up to date decks and then
Yep.
I'm playing my Hexblaw updated from BT5 to BT8 or whatever, and they don't really compared to each other. Not that much anymore. So I think there, for me at least, was kind of the breaking point where the game started to go
Huh.
upwards. But I
I
mean, we
mean,
might be wrong.
I mean, there definitely is power creep. I'm just like, I'm trying to think when I'm like looking at most of the
And the
like.
motherfucking last deck you made, whatever that is, where you just put
Oh
all
yeah,
all the big stuff
yeah,
inside your egg. Yeah,
Royal Knights Mega Zoo, which,
yeah.
funny enough, like that would have actually a horrible matchup against Hexblock because it plays everything raw. But
Yeah.
that just obviously like that's one matchup. But yeah, I I can see your point. I think like the power creep is like middle of the pack when we're looking at most of these, at least for like for what I know about them. But
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a disturbing amount of power creep, but it also something that you have to keep updating your decks and stay with
yep,
the game, which
that's like fair.
which I think developers should just make what are those called? Like game modes, like in Magic you have standard mode and yeah,
Rotation.
rotations
Yeah,
to like stop that from happening, but they also kind of have to power creep a bit because you have to implement also new cards into
game is
older
interesting.
formats and whatever.
Yeah, yeah, that's a fair point. And like, there are like you definitely have like evergreen archetypes. Like if you think of security control, like stuff like that will always exist.
Yeah,
But I
and
guess like obviously you're getting better cards for it as well, so
and
it's
you
like
kind of have
progress.
like some cards from like BT1, BT2, BT3 that you still play as like your main key card of the deck, but also some of those have been just straight up reprinted and added some text to it. Like
Yep,
what was the card we were talking a bit before? It was I think it was the Seraphmon, no? That just got a new version that is just the same thing but strictly better with more text.
I can't think of an example. Like obviously you have like the Gaia Force example where you have a Gaia Force, but then it has a dual color requirement, but it has extra stuff. It can discount itself, or you have the same thing, but also it lets you Greymon attack. So like even those like as like some example are definitely like some things. And like if you just look at like the punching power of decks and consistency, like obviously that's a thing. So
Yeah,
I can see
also
that.
the thing they do with their cards, for example, like Gaia Force thing, is that I think the new Gaia Force set or some kind of like Gaia Force-esque card said that you can kill a thing or two things up to 15,000 DP,
Yeah, you
which
have
is
also cards like that.
yeah, which is like okay, now you have restriction for a card that is not as widespread as saying that this card just kills a thing, but then
Mhm.
it has like upside on that. But then the downside is just meaningless because like what is having 15 KDP basically in the game?
I think the game has literally like maybe. I mean, I can definitely count them with like two hands, like the amount of cards that have
Yeah, and I
more than
suppose you have a deck that
as many.
says something on your opponent's turn. This has like plus 5,000 DP or whatever, but
Yep.
I don't think that's meta relevant, so we shall not discuss about that.
And so like
Also, the
having more
thing about
latitude.
yeah, also the thing about Digimon card game for
We
me,
just call it Digimon.
yeah, Digimon for me is that the way the game plays is something I don't hugely enjoy because you slam a big thing on the table, and if it's not answered immediately, and you're just gonna lose the game. Like if I play Hexball, you don't Gaia Force it, what are you gonna do? I'm probably gonna lose. If you slam something, Seraphon something on the table, then I'm gonna lose if I'm not answering that. So then it takes away from decision making because now you're just playing your biggest thing and
Mhm.
adds more RNG because now you have to have the answer to that or draw into answer.
I can definitely see that, and I think it'll be logical to discuss dual masters after this, but
Yeah,
there are definitely resemblances. They resemble each other
that's how
in a
we
lot of
got into
ways.
the Digimon card game.
Yeah, I mean that's literally how we started. Yeah, but yeah. What other categories do we have? Because like
Well, I guess the
we talked about this.
last thing I said was more on the fun side for me. So how about on you?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because when you were introducing the categories and you talked about like one of the categories, obviously, like how like in depth it is and the like skill ceiling of the uh card game.
Yeah.
It's like and then you are like, yo, in one you just summon big things and slam your opponent with them. It's like kind of funny because to me it's like, yeah, I kind of just like playing big cards and just ramming them into each other or the opponent, and that's fun for me. But a lot of the thing just comes, I don't know. It's simple, which I can appreciate if they can make like simple things fun. But I think one of the like mechanics that makes it also fun is I legit think that Digimon has the single best resource system in any card game that I know of. Like legit.
I do agree with that on mostly, I think. Because I'm thinking only Flesh and Blood here,
Mm-hmm.
rivaling that. But apart from those two, they are very different resource systems. But I
Mm-hmm.
personally enjoy when you're, we'll talk more about this on Flesh and Blood. But
Yep.
I enjoy when the cards you have in your hand are your resources, are your defense, are your offense. That adds a lot of depth to the game. But the Digimon card system that is like being separated from things you get from your deck, it is by far the best one. That is the thing that I love the most about the game, that got me into the game mostly,
Mm-hmm.
and
And
it's just
it's
very good.
yeah, and it's interesting because it's like it's basically like total opposites. Because Digimon, you basically you will always have a bunch of cards in your hand.
Yeah,
If you're like 99% of the time, whichever deck you're playing, like you're just gonna get a bunch of cards in your hand because every time you digivolve, you get a replacement card for the card you just put. So it's I think definitely like the car game is like when it comes to like difficulty, it definitely like is probably on like more of the slower, not slower, lower side. And but yeah, personal enjoyment for me for would be like very high, but that's just
yeah, but also on the
what I
slamming
think.
just big things and doing simple things being fun.
Mm-hmm.
You probably think I disagree with that, but I understand that perspective from Vanguard, which we'll talk also later of. But
Mm-hmm.
that is the game that is very not high skill ceiling game, but it's super fun. Just slam things and just play your game with your friends and be done with
Mm-hmm.
it. So yeah.
Yeah. As
So
for
how would you say about the art and theme on Digimon?
I mean, I'm big on nostalgia. Oh, we're we're okay, not old, but we're on the older side at this point, and I sometimes feel old. And even though I was a Pokemon kid, but even still, like I really like Digimon as well. And to me, that like obviously adds a lot. But even without that, I think the cards look incredible. Like I love the art on Digimon cards, and honestly, it's if I'm looking at the list, I it's definitely like up there as one of the prettiest things that we have. Like obviously you have there's a little bit of complexity there when you have digital card games, and
Mhm.
Digimon doesn't have, at least for now, it doesn't
Mhm.
have yet a digital client. It's just IRL, so you don't have the ability to add cool animations like some of the digital card games. But I think the cards look phenomenal, and I think they're really pretty. So I definitely would rate it very highly in that regard.
I do agree with that. I think the cars are. I I don't like Digimon designs themselves because they all are like the later evolutions of the Digimons are just dragons or dinosaurs with blasters and swords.
Mhm.
I don't like that, but the cars are very pretty, and the car design is really good in Digimon.
They are like
So
they just are made to look cool, and I'm an edge lord. I just love a cool thing.
for
So
sure. So where do we put this? I
I
think
mean,
you would put it in S.
like for
I'd say
me,
B.
like literally for me here, like I think it would be like S or A, but I think
Agree to
like for
disagree
what
to
we
A, and then we just move it up and down with stuff on A.
that works if we're like going for the like middle ground. I think even like I, we could put it in B, like if that's where yeah, it's A or B, I think. So
Okay, yeah.
we can put it there and then move it
I will
later. But yeah,
start with that. Okay, so then
should we cover Duel Masters
yeah,
since it's
we
very
covered
similar?
Duel Master next because now we probably gonna more talk about on the game mechanics, right? Because
Hmm.
we didn't mention much about with Digimon, the
Yeah,
shield mechanics and shit like that.
yeah,
But also, I'm gonna mention that Digimon did just pretty much everything better than Duel Masters.
yeah. I
And
I would.
also, we are 15 minutes in, so we're not gonna make this a 6 hour video.
Yeah, like that was when we were talking about the health of the metagame. I was thinking like, okay, we have stuck on this for so long, so we definitely can't dwell on everything like for as long.
Nah,
But yeah, like for the most part, like Duel Masters is very similar to Digimon, and I would definitely agree with you that Digimon basically does everything better than
they
Duel
have kind of the
Masters.
same mechanics, but Digimon has more and did the stuff better.
Yeah,
And
so
also, the game is prettier.
the resource system I think is definitely better in Duel Masters. Like every
Yeah,
card you have is mana for you. The cards like some of them definitely look cool. The evolution system and like being around tribes. Me as a tribal player in Magic, like I love archetypes and everything like similar to that is something that I can appreciate. And like the shields in Duel Masters go to the grave unless they have an activated ability like a shield trigger. In Digimon, they go to your hand, and in Digimon they go to the grave, but they also like actually do the combat. So I think like overall Digimon has just I would like almost say that I think Digimon also has like more depth than Duel Masters. So okay, I think this is the easiest. Do you think there is any front where Duel Masters is better than Digimon?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
The one thing I'm mostly thinking about is getting your shields to your hand,
yeah,
which is nice because you could like do stuff with it rather than just put it in your graveyard. But then again, Digimon also has effects that like they happen from the
yeah.
shields or whatever it was called in Digimon.
Yeah, it was shields.
Yeah,
Sorry, in Digimon it was security, but yeah, like, cause like
yeah,
Digimon, you get just more cards, and Duel Masters, you having to use your cards as resources as well as your like cards that you're playing. Also just means that you obviously need more cards in hand, so it makes sense. So I still think like so Duel Masters was the first card game that I actually played like myself, actually knowing the rules, because I as a kid I didn't know rules to Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh. But Duel Masters I actually could
same,
understand, so I think the
same.
simplicity is nice. But yeah, I for me personally, it would probably go in like C because I still have a like soft spot for it. But yeah, I think it on this
I can
it's
agree with
definitely
bottom
will.
say.
Yeah,
Also, as saying to general to like card games, I think you need games that are very simple to get
yeah, for
people
sure.
into. You're not gonna slam Magic or Flesh and Blood to people, or well, Commander, surely.
Yeah,
But
we'll talk
you
about
get
that.
my point. So yeah, you need games like Pokemon, Duel Masters, and shit like that. Like get into the loop, you know. You need that little bit of like soft gate,
Yeah, a gateway game for sure. And when like
the
when we
gateway to
said
drugs.
Basically, card games can be that for sure. But yeah, like the when
Yeah,
we say like something is
Duel
much
Masters, the
lower.
cocaine of TCGs.
Oh, please do not. Okay, first and
And
foremost, please.
when you got those doses from your when you were like 5 6 years old from the Kellogg's, what are they called?
What are you talking about?
The what are they called? What is it in English? The Kellogg's. What are they?
Like Kellogg's, just like
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
just
yeah,
talking
flakes, the
about.
flakes. Yeah,
Oh,
in your like flakes bags, you got a dual masters card. That's why I bought them.
okay.
That was my gateway.
First and foremost, don't do drugs at all. And second of all, please, cocaine as a gateway drug, you are insane. But
This just shows how much I know about trucks. Anyways, let's talk
yeah,
more about card games because that's what I'm more
that's
into.
fair. There's a reason why we're talking about children's card games here and not doing something else. But yeah, last thing that I wanted to say also, when we say that something is like definitely on the scale like lower skill ceiling, card games innately are fucking hard.
They
And
are.
like if like the simplest card game, if someone who's played them for 2 years versus someone who is playing for the first time, the guy who's playing for the first time is gonna have a zero idea, no matter how easy the card game is. So,
Yeah.
we're not when we say like low end the skill set, we don't mean like yeah these are like super easy and people who play them have no skill.
Yeah, there are
Absolutely.
games like Vanguard that also like gives you a little bit of dopamine injections, even if you don't know anything. Because when you swing with your Vanguard, you get to like trigger check from top of your deck, and just if stuff happens, and then you're like, whoa, I did a thing, and you don't know what
Yeah,
you're doing. So that is also good too.
but yeah,
But
moving on. Should by the way, should we maybe like order this? And we can now like maybe do some that take us a lot less time. And
yeah, yeah,
maybe should
sure,
we have something like magic as last? Like maybe have some
probably,
logic to it.
yeah.
Probably, but yeah. Let's do a couple that we can probably knock out faster. So maybe some of the ones that I'm less familiar with.
Yeah, sure. Let's do the Lorcana. This is
All right. So
very new card game. I'm just gonna put it there in the news list because I haven't played it either. I have seen a bit of the game. I've seen the cards, and the cards are very pretty, and the game looks very simple but very good. Also as a gateway game to card games, and it's
uh,
Disney themed. If you didn't know, or if
yeah,
anybody
yeah,
else
because
didn't know.
that's what I was gonna say. Like, so I literally heard of this when Yuda pitched this thing to me today. Like,
Yeah,
I literally know
it's like
nothing.
3 months old or something like that. It's very new.
I was looking at like stuff, and it's like definitely like looks like it's um like very beginner friendly, and obviously having a Disney theme would be something that we'd like to market to people who are like maybe less familiar with things. I just literally when I went to the page, there was a card Maleficent, a monstrous dragon who was a 7/5. I'm assuming the thing at the top left is the mana cost, and
Hmm.
then when you play this character, you may banish chosen character. So
Yeah.
very simple effects, at least like
At least for
assuming
now.
I yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah,
but
anything
that is a
what do you want
game
to say
that
about it?
that is a game that I would if I had kids or like with my significant other, I would
Mm,
like take this game first. I like
gotcha.
play this with them for sure
Yeah.
because it looks very pretty, very saturated, childish, good card game, or like simple designs. Cards look very pretty, and
Mm,
it's just I've only heard overall good things. So
okay.
I
Yeah,
think that's
that's
enough of that. Then next
neat.
about Paddle Spirits Saga.
Sure.
This
Never
is the
heard of this
new
one.
yeah, this is a new game from Konami, I think. The same company that did Yu-Gi-Oh.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just gonna fact check that anyway, so Battle Spirits Saga. But yeah, I
I'll just
haven't played this game. This is also like under half a year, I think. I think this came out like in the summer.
the designs look very extravagant.
It's more on the like Yu-Gi-Oh design
Uh-huh.
space or like Vanguard Japanese design space.
Yeah.
I thought, but that is also a game that I'd like to try at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Probably won't stay.
These have a lot more text when I'm just looking at the cards. When I'm immediately looking at the card, like there is a lot of things that I like don't know what is going on. Like there, Ancient Guardian Trident Dragon is an ancient dragon. I'm assuming once again 7 mana cost. It has
Oh, it's Bandai
three like
Namco's game. Never mind, not
oh, it's
Konami.
Bamco. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
Namco.
It has like
Namcos.
crystals, and then there's level 1, level 2, level 3. So I'm some sort of level mechanic. And Flash Awaken during your attack step, you place 2 cores from your trash. Blah blah blah. For Ruby Sanctuary, when the spirit attacks, like right at the like this is not CML. Like this would be a very like beginner friendly card game.
No,
I'll say that.
no. If you look just cards from like far away, it's full of text and shit
Yeah, there's so
going
much
on.
text. These ones are cool though.
Yeah, they do look cool, but yeah.
Looks cool, but yeah, like I it
I
seems very
imagine this gonna be
confusion.
like yeah. I imagine this gonna be more like Yu-Gi-Oh type
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
card game.
Mm,
But
yep.
yeah, I can't really say much about that. I will try that at some point. But then
Seems good.
next, what we'll do? Final Fantasy? Yeah, let's do Final Fantasy.
All right. So you didn't put. I noticed you didn't put this in new. So you
No,
clearly know something of this.
yeah, I played it.
Another one. I don't know anything. So explain
The
to me like I'm
cards,
five.
the the card game is kind of a normal one. Nothing too special about it. You use your cards from hand as your resource, and that is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
But the cards don't do too much. At least when I tried it, this is like 5 years ago. I don't know about the game now.
Oh, it's older.
It's not a very popular game, I have to say. It is
Mhm.
like all right, like from Japanese games, probably like top 10, maybe the
Gotcha.
top 5. But the card arts and designs are kind of like screenshots from the game, which I don't enjoy. And it
Gotcha.
just the game didn't struck me too much. There's people that play it, there's people who enjoy it, but it's more on those people that also like plays most of the Japanese card games. People that play Digimon play also Final Fantasy, but it's never anyone's main game really.
So it's basically like it's what I'm understanding. It's a very simple game. So it's
Yeah, it's
like
like I would say worse version of Grand Archive.
gotcha. Okay. So basically like a card game for people who just like also a card game or a card game for Final Fantasy fans.
Yeah, I wouldn't say you play the game if you are not Final Fantasy fan.
Okay, gotcha.
It's just the IP doing its thing mostly.
Yeah, I mean Final Fantasy is very popular. People like it. The
hmm
characters are very pretty, so I can see that being successful.
So then next we do Look and Logic.
So we're knocking out all the games that basically I don't know.
Yeah, we do them
Okay,
now.
actually, Luck and Logic. So I can say something about this game. I
There's an anime of it.
assume it. Yeah, I was gonna say. I assume it relates to the anime. Saw the anime like actually when it was airing. But yeah, I've seen the anime, and that's literally all I know. That's why the name was actually familiar to me. But yeah,
Yeah, it's a
I can't remember.
bit more interesting game
Hmm.
because it's not really your regular kind of card game where you
Oh.
just like slam things on the table. You need to hit face and shit. As,
Hmm.
in Logic and Logic, you have I believe it was 6 times 2, no 3 times 2 or 4 times 2 field where the placement of units was like a crucial part of the game. I tried it a
Oh,
couple of times, like 5 years ago. Don't remember too much, but it was interesting enough, so I remember the game. But I still
gotcha.
wouldn't say it was like too interesting. So
Yeah.
we played like some starting decks just when the game came out. So maybe it has evolved, but yeah,
When we're looking at stuff like 90% of things are in Japanese, so I'm assuming it's definitely the biggest in Japan.
yeah,
But other than when I look at the cards, they look very similar to how cards look in Vanguard.
yeah. It is. It's a very over designed anime thing.
Mm,
So yeah.
gotcha.
Anyways,
Yeah.
so next, what would you say we do next?
I think we could
Pick
do
a
one.
card, any
Uh,
card.
let's do one that let's do a digital. Okay, let's do a Gwent.
All right, cool. Quint, how do we rate that?
So I know something of this. A friend of mine is very into the whole Witcher thing, and he get into card games through Gwent. So Gwent is like obviously there are some of these card games that I don't really know about, but I feel like Gwent is very different the most.
It is.
So
It's
but
definitely a
basically,
good upside on for Quint.
yeah. So basically, most card games you're either attacking your opponent or you're attacking your opponent's units. But in Gwent, instead, you're accruing points with your units. Like they have varying effects when you apply them on the board. You can like damage your opponent's units with your cards, but you're not attacking. You're basically just playing turns and trying to get more points than your opponent. And I think also the round system is pretty cool. Like you have
Yeah,
to
it is the
win
most
two out of three
it's most
rounds.
interesting thing in the game for me at least.
Hmm.
That is the thing I think it separates from other card games
Yeah.
because you play the rounds with the same deck. So first you start out, you play your thing, either one you wins. If you win the first round, then you go to the second round, and now you have advantageous deck for you,
Hmm.
and the other player has to win the round, or otherwise you win the game.
Yeah.
So then you just usually it flows like this that you try on the second round if you win the first round, you try to force out your opponent to play the more powerful key cards with
Yeah.
spending as little as possible
Yeah.
for yourself, and then you get like edge for the last round.
Overall,
So
it feels.
yeah,
Yeah. Sorry. Sorry.
the system is very cool. It's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry to cut you off, but yeah, like overall, it's just like it feels. It's basically just resource management because you're playing cards to accrue points, and you're trying to, like you said, it's very well. Like you're trying to get your opponent to spend their better cards when you are using your worst cards before going into the last one. And also, like the way you build your deck is nothing has mana cost. When you play everything, it just that's your turn when you play a card. But everything has a provision cost, which is basically like you have a maximum provision cost while having a minimum number of cards you put in your deck, and basically you can't use more than the provision cost, but you can have as many cards you want in your deck, which also I think is pretty interesting. So overall, like I think Gwent is interesting. It's like it's not my favorite. I like it's fun because it's different, and I
Yeah,
think
there's
like you
not much depth in the cards themselves in Quent.
yeah, I would agree with
It's
that. Like
mostly just putting glorified numbers on the board, and the board
yeah,
is your glorified actual sheet. But I will say the game does very good job at being in Witcher's theme with
yeah,
the
for sure.
soundtracks and all that. Even though I'm not enjoying too much of the card designs, but
Mhm.
well, it is what it is because it came out from the Witcher game itself, so
Yeah,
it's very impressive in that regard.
yeah, and it's like if you enjoy like fantasy themes as like just a design, they are like very cookie cutter fantasy themes for some of them, and then some they're just people because it brings the world of Witcher alive very well. So I
Also,
feel like
now that it is a first digital game we are rating, it also is very free to play friendly. You
oh
get
yeah,
like
yeah.
any deck for free in the game basically for logging in. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a great point, and I don't know. I assume it was a bug, but for me, like one day when I just logged in, I had an insurmountable amount of resource, like 80,000 shards or something like that. I do not know where they came from. My friend who actually played the game like for so long said like he's never had like a tenth of that, so I don't know where those came from.
I think I got
But
like 40,000 or something. I remember
yeah,
I had an absurd amount too, because like the average craft cost of the deck in the game, I think it's around 10,000
yeah, yeah.
plus minus a couple of thousand.
Yeah, I think the last one that I did was a vampire deck, and I think it cost me like 9K. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I
but yeah,
think my deck cost 9k too.
yeah,
I played the motherfucking worm that ate things and just grew bigger and it
oh
was fun.
yeah, consuming stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love monsters. Definitely my favorite faction. Also, like the factions are great. Like I've said it multiple times. I enjoy tribes. I enjoy tribal stuff. I enjoy archetype. Everything, anything that you have like a clear theme. I
Yeah,
definitely.
also the hero system in Quent is also pretty good. I think
Oh
it's
yeah,
just a worse version of Hearthstone, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it is something
yeah,
that adds to the game for sure.
yeah.
So, are we comfortable Quent being in B?
I like B as well. And that's where I would put it as well because it's like it's very different to many the others. It's like it doesn't do anything that's like super insanely interesting, but it does a lot of things right, and it
Yeah,
being different
Quent
is
has
a big plus.
value as a standalone game. There's reasons why would you play it, and there's compared to like for example why would you play Duel Masters when you could play Digimon, but there is no other game that provides some things that Quent does, so maybe that's your main game. Hey, power to you.
Yeah, and like from what you like talked about the Final Fantasy game, I feel like Gwent Witcher fans is a better experience than the Final Fantasy TGG would be for Final Fantasy fans.
I would say so, 110%. But then let's go to the next game.
Sure.
What should we do next? One Piece. Let's do One Piece.
Okay. The only thing I know of the One Piece card game is that my Twitter timeline has been full of people trying to sell a Nami card for like $400.
Yeah.
So yeah, a
The
lot of people have been getting into it too. That like I follow a lot of like Smashers, and a lot of them have been getting into it. So I feel like it's pretty new, right?
it is very new. It's
Okay, yeah,
it has released pretty much at the same time with Grand Archive and then
gotcha.
Battle Spirits around the same time.
Okay.
And I think that was the best time they could have ever released a One Piece card game, considering
Hmm.
the Netflix adaptation and the boom
Oh
it
yeah, for sure.
started with the franchise and how big it is with all um stuff that's been happening in anime and how they've been advertising that as well.
Yeah.
but it's a game that I haven't played. I can't talk off the mechanics. I have tried to understand them by reading the cards, and it
Hmm.
seems a lot different from other games. So I'll be intrigued to try it. The cards look very good.
Oh yeah,
The
because
arts look very good. Also,
a
I
lot
will
of.
say this one about the arts that there is this artist called Lack. Probably many of you know of him.
Oh yeah.
He did Asha arts, also Lord arts for Vanguard, and he's my favorite artist. He's doing a lot of arts for One Piece as well. I'm 99% sure of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is
Yeah. I actually I have two cards from the One Piece card game because the somebody who I ordered Digimon cards with from used them as like covers,
yeah, I know to
and
do too.
one of them is a stage card, Moby Dick, and the art literally is just a colored panel of the manga.
Yeah, they
So
do that. Also screenshots from anime, but the key cards tend to have their own um art,
yeah,
which is a bit whack that they do like that. I guess it's just budgeting,
I
but
mean it's budgeting, but also it's like if we're talking like how good is the art, like
yeah,
One Piece art is good, so
yeah.
like you can't
Also,
really.
the economy of the game is that I've noticed people more like collect the game rather than play it. And
Okay, that's fair.
there is chase cards, like you've seen the
Like the Nami.
Nami, yeah, like the Nami, and then you
Yeah.
have like some crazy hollow rainbow from different dimension augmented low art with big tits, gender bender version, and then it sells for like 1,000.
Gotcha. Yeah, but this
So
is
they
like
do that.
definitely one of the that obviously just because of the buzz, like I'd be more interested in of the like ones that I don't really didn't know much about
Yeah, but it's a
beforehand.
game I want to play. It
Yeah.
is a game I definitely want to own cards of that I find cool.
Hmm. Yeah,
I'm
that's
not
very
I'm
fair.
not big of a collector. Collecting is also a huge part of real life trading card games. That is for a lot of people the biggest
Yeah,
thing.
for sure.
So,
Uh,
anyways,
let's knock out Force of Wills. That's the last game here that I know absolutely nothing about.
sure. I will just put the Force of Will straight out and see about Duel Masters. And the reasons behind
Hmm.
that is it is very akin to Magic the Gathering, where you can play a resource per turn, but it doesn't come from your own hand. You have an extra deck where you put all your crystals into, and by
Hmm.
tapping your hero, that is very akin to Magic's commander that just dictates your tribe for the deck. When you tap
Gotcha.
your hero, then you can't attack with it, blah blah blah. You can just turn a crystal as your mana into the field like a land,
Hmm.
and then you just play cards very akin to Magic that are like 1/1s that do something when they enter a field, or then anything you can imagine Magic it does, but it's just anime version. And I think it is in all aspects verse version.
Of Magic.
Although yeah,
I mean,
although
it's hard. It's hard to be a better version of Magic. I'll say that.
for sure, but the resource system I could make an argument why it's better in Force of Will than Magic, but
Mm.
I think back when we played a Force of Will with Cheeks, we tried to play Magic with its resource system, where
Mm-hmm.
we separated our lands to different deck in Magic, and then just like said, hey, you can play one of them in
Mm.
each turns, and then tried to play the game normally. But it just completely broke the game. So so
Yeah,
and the
that's fair.
balance of Force of Will wasn't too big, at least back then. It wasn't like my deck was kind of stupid and broken because you just
Gotcha.
turboed value and units into the field. And you know how much I hate when your card reads that, hey, I will kill a thing from your opponent, I will be a threat for your opponent, then I will advance your values in this game.
Yeah, yeah. Yuda likes making, basically assembling his Exodia. I like when a single card says, "I am Exodia."
No, it's not even assembling the Exodia, because the thing is that it's a decision making thing. You have three cards in your hand.
Okay,
One
yeah,
one of
decision
them
making.
one of them kills your opponent's thing. One of them makes you a threat, and one of them advances um or ramps up your game that you can be more powerful later on in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very, very important decision in card
Mm-hmm.
games between these three. Because this is now, I will make a separate video on how tempo works in card game, but it is basically a tempo. If the threat you can play on your board is bigger than your opponent, it's probably better to play it unless you like think they have an immediate response to that, then it's not good. But
Yeah, I mean,
anyways, I'm not gonna deep dive in that more. But if your card does everything that these three two combined, then it's why I want to play it. Then you just do that.
yeah, so that's fair enough. And I'll take your word for it. You know your stuff when it comes to stuff like that. So yeah, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. The next on. Oh yeah, I will talk about a little bit of Force of Will's card designs. I think they're good. Not
Mm-hmm.
much to say
Okay.
about that. The best part
Yeah,
of the
I
card designs are the foils and the card back. The card back is really cool in Force of Will.
gotcha. Yeah,
It's just basically this logo behind the card, and it looks cool because it kind of like shines a bit.
yeah, I googled some cards and they look like basically different version of like what to me Vanguard cards look like. So they
Yeah,
are
it's just
pretty.
anime magic.
Yeah, but
Next on,
yeah, I'm
let's
fine with it being where it is.
yeah. Next on, let's talk a big IP that
All
you
right.
probably know more of than I do, at least
Oh,
in current era. Let's go Yu-Gi-Oh. How do we feel about Yu-Gi-Oh?
okay. So Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm not super caught up. I follow some of like what modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Is doing. I couldn't tell you what the meta archetypes is. I think Pearly is still pretty good, but I play a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! I do a progression style series with a friend where we go to older stuff, and it's been a lot of fun. And honestly, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is weird because I think it's so degenerate sometimes, and it feels so bad sometimes. Most of modern Yu-Gi-Oh to
Yeah, I
play.
will say this about Yu-Gi-Oh that is a with Magic, I think the two oldest card games, and
Mm,
to like stand that test of time for
yeah,
this long, it is here to stay, and it's definitely objectively a very good card game that many people love, and it has done or like gone through many iterations. The game has
for sure.
changed a lot depending on like what era you're playing. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, we just recently started playing with synchros, and that alone, like that swap alone, has completely flipped the script and on like what you are able to do. But I can't remember who said it, but I remember seeing a thing where someone said about like I hate Yu-Gi-Oh so much sometimes, but no other game makes you feel as powerful when you're playing it as Yu-Gi-Oh does.
that
Like
is actually very well said.
the
Also, fuck link system, but the link system is fucking amazing. But
uh,
it's so bad.
Lynx broke the balance for sure, but like it's very
It
cool.
is a
I do
fucking different game. It should have been a different game. But it's very
that's
cool system.
that's very fair, yeah. But yeah, overall, like about Yu-Gi-Oh, I do think it is a good game. So the resource system, you can do anything with the cards in your hand,
That is the
and the
worst
fact that
part of the fucking game.
you have to your traps can't be activated that the turn you set them, and you only
Unless
have one normal. Both with a with a comma but.
now, the thing you said earlier about making it feel powerful, like in Yu-Gi-Oh,
Yeah.
that is a statement I will 100% go behind with. Because for me, this game sucks balls. Like big, hairy, no shower for 10 years balls. It is so bad. Because like the decks autopilot kind of themselves. This one tutors this one, and then you play for 15 minutes. Now your deck is on the field, and then everything is negated, and you're dead. And this is my turn zero. You didn't get to play the game, so fuck you. But when you play trap tricks or anything akin to that, where you just to take your like masochist side or like no sadist side,
That is so yeah.
Yeah, that one. Then it is very fun and powerful because people are
I,
like the people that play Yu-Gi-Oh are just so like they smile their one teeth hanging on their upside of the mouth and they just I can play 16 samurais and then draw 22 cards and then do this and that and now it's a big Gundam and then I'm like just fuck your Gundam. This trap came this turn in response to that thing, and now it's negated, and you can't play the game. Also, you cannot special summon anymore. So is it my turn? Oh yeah,
right,
okay, it's my turn.
so it's important to establish here that the three decks that I know like Yuta has played like quite a bit of in Yu-Gi-Oh are Trap Tricks, obviously a very trap heavy control deck. Weather Painter, which is a stacks deck. Also, there was the Crystal Wing engine there with Wind Witches,
Yeah,
and Lyrilusk, which basically OTKs with Burn or whatever.
yeah, it was burn. There was
Yeah,
it's a level one turbo that assembles Nightingale. I think it was
yeah.
Nightingale, Independent Nightingale.
I'm
That's just basically
assuming.
one shots.
Yeah, I'm.
Yeah.
Thank God Tyrant Neptune is banned because, bro, fuck Assembled Nightingale. That should be banned too. But that's
Did you
besides the
say
point.
Starving Venom?
Oh yeah, because that does the same thing. Yeah, like
Yeah,
two
yeah, yeah.
cards that are banned literally because of Assembled Nightingale.
Yeah.
But that's a thing for another day. I am a humble and prideful Galaxy as player, so I just make big thing punch enemy with big thing. If you have Nibiru, then GG's. But without dwelling too much more on this, I think Yu-Gi-Oh is ultimately it's a very good game. It has a lot of flaws. I will say that. I think it's probably the most polarizing game that we actually have here. It has
For
like
sure.
the flaws are so bad, but when it's fun, it's so much fun.
For
And
sure.
like power creep is horrendous in Yu-Gi-Oh. Like,
Yu-Gi-Oh has, I think
but
Yu-Gi-Oh has pretty healthy competitive scene,
yeah,
or
for
at
sure.
least it is, at least it is big.
Yeah,
So therefore, it should be somewhat healthy.
but yeah, I
Unless you
like just
are
to
in an abusive relationship with the game, which I can see too, like with people with League. But anyways,
yeah, but I I don't see how Yu-Gi-Oh would be in anything else than S or A personally.
bottom S, top A. I agree with that. Let's put it as a first S for now.
Okay, yeah,
I agree with that.
I think we might be changing that, but
Yeah,
I still
art and
think it's
theme, art and themes of the game are very diverse. They are very. It is like the primest anime art game you can get.
yeah.
I think.
Also yeah, I like Yu-Gi-Oh designs quite a bit. I think they're like pretty up there. I think they're actually very like
Yeah.
and
Also with the note of Vanguard existing, these two games adapt the anime very well.
oh yeah, for sure. And Yu-Gi-Oh also like if Yu-Gi-Oh is one of the more accessible games, no matter how you want to play it. If you don't want to play it IRL, you have like
Yeah,
a master
you could just
like
do like million decks for like 10 euros.
Master Duel is also so accessible and easy to play. You have other automated things as well. You have Dueling Book, which is a fan-made simulator. It's not automated, but you can just make a deck for free. You can play with
Yeah,
other
that is
people.
true.
It is
That is true.
very
Yu-Gi-Oh
accessible.
is probably the
If
most
you
accessible game you have like on this list.
yeah, accessible if you want to play it, but I would
Yeah.
argue that it's not. It's definitely not very easy for a starter for someone who is like
Yu-Gi-Oh
basically starting as a
Yu-Gi-Oh isn't
beginner.
like the skill floor is high. The skill ceiling I don't think is very high. It is on the harder side for sure, but the game there's not much luck to it besides drawing your answers. Because like Yu-Gi-Oh
Mhm.
has also this thing that you have to answer immediately or you kind of lose the game. But the decks tutor themselves, so it is kind of 50-50 on that.
I mean, when you also talk about luck, there's always the meme of losing dice roll. Like if you go second, you
True,
just lose with
true, true,
some
true,
decks. So
true, true, true. Also, um, where Yu-Gi-Oh skill ceiling comes is I think that you just have to know a lot about the cards in
yeah,
the game itself,
for sure,
because
it's
because
knowing
you
your deck and
usually
your opponent's deck.
yeah usually you have like you cannot negate in every window. You have to know the exact window when you negate the thing to stop
Yeah,
chains from happening. So that is the nitty gritty of the Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah.
But
Also, missing the timing. I hate that mechanic. Get rid of it.
yeah,
I
but
fucking hate
Yu-Gi-Oh
it. But
doesn't
yeah.
have like resources, doesn't really have much of a tempo like Japanese card games usually don't. It is very base. And then what was the another one I was about to say? Oh, whatever, I
But
forgot.
yeah.
But yeah,
But
that's
yeah.
that. I think we
Well,
covered Yu-Gi-Oh pretty well.
yeah. I think last thing that I want to say about it. Sorry that we were on it for so
No,
long.
no, no.
Is like uh, I think the difficulty, like you said, like comes in like just knowing what you and your opponent actually want to do and like find the lines of play and one like learning your
And now
deck
this is
initially is
this is
hard.
talking of Yu-Gi-Oh as of now.
Yeah.
It's been a very different game
Yeah, okay.
coming up to this.
When we played Yu-Gi-Oh in the like OG Dual Monsters Yu-Gi-Oh era, like you normal summon a login that is big and you pass.
Yeah,
You swing with it, you pass.
there was a game mode in Yu-Gi-Oh that people play. I forgot what the name is. Can you remember the
Goat
name?
format
Yeah, the
or
Goat format.
Goat
That
format and Edison are the two
yeah,
big
Goat
things.
format. I was thinking about the Goat format. That is very fun.
Yeah, Goat and Edison is for Synchro. Basically, the kind of the same thing as Goat format, but they're
Hmm.
like time gated format. So yeah, for other than that, like Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't have a standard. It's basically like every card that's ever been printed. If it's not on the ban list, it's fair game. But yeah,
Yeah.
I I think look, Yu-Gi-Oh is fun. It has its awful flaws, but it also has its very brilliant moments.
Best
I don't know
best
if it's gonna be in S at the end, but I think it's is
best
fair.
Yu-Gi-Oh era for you. Go.
Oh yep.
Best Yu-Gi-Oh era for you. Go.
I I want to say XYZ, but I don't know much about it yet. But XYZ really is my favorite archetype. But I will say a not Master Rule. Yeah, no, Master Rule 5 after Links released and after they made the change where the only things that Links have to point to are Links and Pendulum, someone from extra deck. Low key, I think that might actually be the fun. So I judge on like modern Yu-Gi-Oh. I still actually think that Master Rule 5 is probably the best era.
Okay, fuck. I was hoping you said Yu-Gi-Oh GX and I get knock off
Oh,
how people only
oh
love this game for its nostalgia. That is the game is shit nowadays.
no, I'll be the optimist. But if I have to say, GX definitely holds a magic place in my heart because I grew up with the GX anime and
I think that is just very synonymous with the Yu-Gi-Oh community that most people just love the
I
most.
think even more people than just Finnish people probably know the Finnish theme because it slaps, bro. Anyways,
In no way that is like the most known Finnish song probably like up there.
it's Darude Sandstorm number one, number two, Yu-Gi-Oh GX Finnish opening.
Number three, Kääriä Cha Cha Cha.
Probably, yeah. But yeah,
Okay,
a
let's go
lot
to the
about
next one.
Yu-Gi-Oh. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Next one. Oh, let's do Pokemon.
All right. So Pokemon, I don't know too much about. I played it for like a few years when the like online client first came out, but I don't remember like anything of it, even though I played for like a couple of years because I haven't touched the game at all after that. And as for the physical one, I basically as a kid just collected the cards. I never played it.
Yeah,
But
it has very healthy competitive scene. A lot of
okay.
people play it. It's very popular card game. It is very base level card game. It's more on the easier side, like Digimon being
Mhm.
there as well. There is not too much of a decision making because there is shit tons of draw and shit tons of
Yeah,
search and
I know
you
there's
just
like
stack your big thing and put it
I know
there.
there's like I think it was like a trainer card that just says like draw seven cards.
Yeah,
Which
there
is
is.
like that seems insane to me. Like knowing the concept of everything else, it's just like yep, just draw
Yeah, the
seven.
deck I play, the main card says that I can put it's a free skill. Put a energy under it and then draw two cards. And it's
Ah,
not locked on like that name of the card that usually card games do. But
mhm,
if I have three of them on the field, I can just stack the energies and draw six each turn.
yeah. But
Anyways,
yeah,
yeah, that is not well. I'd say it's a good card game. It's good for new
mhm,
people. Probably more collectible
gotcha.
than any of these card games. At least
I
up
mean,
there with like Magic.
I mean, yeah, Pokemon is like the biggest IP, like most profitable IP on planet.
Yeah,
So like, yeah, I mean, there was like with COVID, you had the Pokemon card boom. Everyone was opening Pokemon cards just for the hell of it, and it's Pokemon. Like everybody loves Pokemon. So
yeah.
yeah,
And like Pokemon is probably a game where if you started your like card game, um, playing card games through Pokemon, you
Mhm.
probably moved on into something else. But it's a game that you will go back and have fun playing.
Yeah, true.
It's also very accessible. The decks are super cheap. The meta decks for standard format are around like 30, $40.
Oh, that's great because like that, if we're looking at like most of these like, if you're thinking of actual like meta decks for card games IRL, I don't think you're getting a deck with a double digit spending.
Not really.
So yeah, I should download the online client and try it again because it's been so long. But I don't even remember like when I quit. I just remember
Yeah, and the
I
game has
had the
gone a
base.
lot forward from when you played. There's
I
like
mean,
the V Pokemons and stuff like that where you don't have to like evolve your Pokemon and you slam it on the table, but there is also a drawback to it.
mhm.
It's very good, I think.
I mean, I remember I've seen like cards that are actual like two Pokemon, and I remember like the good old days was like if something had 150 like 150 HP was the maximum. Nothing went over 150 HP.
Now it's 300.
Yeah, it's like
It's doubled.
what the hell are these things doing, bro? The custom cars that I saw like when I was in school are now like, yeah, bro, that car would be ass. Nobody would play that shit. So yeah, but
Yeah,
yeah, I'll leave the judgment to you because I don't feel
the
comfortable in
card designs
place.
are good. Would you
Oh
agree
yeah,
with
I mean
that? Yeah.
Pokemon just has
If
good
you
design.
if you like Pokemon, you will like the cards of Pokemon for sure.
If you don't like Pokemon, uh, sleep with one eye open. I'll be at your in your house. But yeah, it's like everyone memes about like, yeah, this one's just a candle, this one's just a bunch of keys, but overall, I just think like it's Pokemon. There's a reason why it's the most profitable IP in the entire
I will just
world. But yeah,
I will just put it in A. I don't care which one is on which side with Digimon or Pokemon. I think
yeah,
they are quite. They're not very similar games, but they are like up there. For me,
sure. Then since I actually
interchangeable.
know more Digimon, we can keep it the way you now put it.
Yeah, I've also played Digimon more, but yeah.
Yeah.
Moving
We're
on
gonna
to the
attack
next
next.
one. Let's do a CCG for now. Let's go
All
with
right.
Runeterra.
All right. Something that I've recently fallen more back into, and something that I played in beta a whole bunch because I actually had access to cards.
Yeah,
And then the bastards nerfed Ezreal.
yeah. I'm
Uh,
so sad that we couldn't keep our collection from beta. That was such a shit thing to do.
and okay, Runeterra, I think it's a good game. I think it's very once again like free to play friendly,
It is.
and we've been talking about like how things look. Runeterra is very pretty, and the animations when champions level up are super sick.
Yeah, it's something you can expect from Riot Games.
I mean,
It's
yeah,
definitely there.
they're a movie and music making company that also does decent games. That's
they
that's the meme.
But also like Runeterra is something more on like how would you distinguish Riot that they just take a game that exists and then make a better version of it. I think they have
Yeah,
done
that's
that with Hearthstone. They are different games. There's a reason why would you play both, but they like made Hearthstone a bit more competitive to Runeterra. I think there's
hmm
less RNG
yeah,
and the system where it's always both players' turn, but it just changes who gets to attack. Um, for the rules. There's
yeah.
cards that let you attack, but it's very good.
The back and forth is nice, and like it's still they make like something like they have like a okay. It's I don't think it's a stack system for Magic. I think it's more akin to Yu-Gi-Oh's chains. Cause you can't. No, wait. Which one was it? One
No,
of them you
it's a
could
stack
add.
system
No, yeah, yeah. It is a stack system. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. But
that resolves like Yu-Gi-Oh.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's how it was. And also, when I earlier like almost right off the bat, I said like Digimon has my favorite resource system in any card game out there. I would say that Runeterra is my number two. I think the
Well, it's a
simple
simple,
thing,
but they added the spell mana system.
yeah, it's literally just like every turn you have one more mana than last turn, but you can store up to three unused mana for your further turns as spell mana, which is only used for spells, or I think equipment also counts. But I think it's very simple, but it feels good knowing. I think as a player, it just feels good like knowing like okay, if I skip my first two turns, I'm still getting the full mana value out of that in some
Well,
ways,
not
which
full, but yeah.
I mean, yeah, basically, like if you're gonna be using any
For
spells,
me
then
though, the more I play the game, the more I'm starting to disagree with that.
oh,
Because the thing is though, that it's a very good system, and I like it a lot. And
mm-hmm.
as you know, I love casting spells. That is the only decks I really
Hello, Wizard
play
Money
most of
Gang.
them. Yeah. But the thing that spell mana does to a game, to a design philosophy of a game, is
Mm-hmm.
that you cannot print good spells that are cheap. Uh, Otherwise, they would be really broken, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you could play like if you skip first two turns and then you play a 6 mana spell that just fucking does what 6 mana spell does in Magic. Well, now we have a problem, don't we?
Yeah,
so, so
it's
then
definitely
then
fine,
if you
but
can't keep your spell mana stored, double spelling feels very bad in the game because you have to play a minion, and then if it doesn't have attune or something like that, you don't have spell mana stored. Now you can't play your draw spell or like have mana for your counter spell, and that feels very bad.
mm-hmm.
So in that regard, I dislike the system, but I think it is an upgrade to Hearthstone system. I think it's better for it to be there than not to be there, but there is
Mm-hmm.
flaws to it.
Yeah, I can see like I can see what you mean because it's definitely like it definitely is a design limitation for
And I
sure.
think for like casual perspective, um, people usually don't. There are certain types of people that like casting spells, but mostly people just want to play their big dude on the field and just Voltron with it, like play your fucking Pantheon and stack 16 things on it and swing.
Yeah, it's just
So
satisfying.
it is better for those people that system because now you it like creates a bit more board centric meta because you cannot have too good of a spell to stop that early on.
Yeah. Also, I think also like Runeterra does it well, like Riot does with all of their games, which is it's very good. It's a very good game, even if you're not in the league. And if you're
It is,
in
yeah.
the league, you can appreciate the little things that are there because it's like, oh shit, like they they
They
the
do that
champion,
with all their IPs really well.
yeah, for sure. Like the champions in Runeterra are they feel very similar, and they're like you can see the origin from League, and you can see like, oh yeah, that makes sense because this is what they're like in League, and I think that's really cool as well.
Yeah, the card designs also are pretty interesting. The
Yeah,
archetypes you got in Runeterra, they definitely make use of the game being digital. They
yeah,
design mechanics that only works in digital, which is something I think a digital card game should do, which is very cool.
yeah. Also, the vault system, it's very free to play friendly. It's kinda slow getting to a new deck, but you're like consistently getting a lot of rewards. You can tailor your rewards to yourself with the region system. I think
It
like
is, but
overall
it's
it has
also I
just
think it is a bit more like what you're saying is it's just the psychology of like anticipation, making it feel slower. Because you when you get your deck and you grind your ladder with the one deck only, now suddenly you have a lot of resources to make multiple decks.
yeah, that's fair. And like me definitely like I get bored of doing the same thing very
Yeah,
fast, so
because like that
it's
was the thing
extra for me.
uh when I got back into Runeterra like a couple of weeks ago and I was streaming and now our
Hmm.
friend said that holy shit you have a lot of decks because I was listing like the Israel decks I've made.
Hmm.
But I've only played the game really once back over a year ago when I did the Masters run. And
Yeah.
it wasn't too many games even. I played like I don't know, maybe 100 games with
Hmm.
one actually two decks. no, 3 decks to masters, and then I just crafted cards that I found interesting as I was going there. So
Yeah.
you just got a lot of out of it because it was like I played I think only 2 weeks, but I got double, like 2 times diamond walls, all of them, and it was a hell of a lot of rewards. So
Yeah.
yeah, if you just play the game consistently, you will have an inventory like really big.
Yeah, overall, I just think it has like a lot of things going for it. I think the final thing that I want to talk about it is like the spell speed system being very clear. So like Yu-Gi-Oh, you talk about spell speed 1, spell speed 2, spell speed 3, spell
Yeah,
speed 4. Basically, it's like 1, you can only do it during your turn. 2, you can do it on either player's turn. 3, you can do it on either player's turn whenever, and your opponent can only respond with a spell with 3 or 4, and 4 your opponent cannot respond to it at all. I think Runeterra makes it very clear. Slow spells are only when nothing else is happening. Focus is immediately, but it can't be in when something else is happening. Fast can be whenever like something else is happening, but your opponent also gets a turn. And burst is just it happens immediately with your opponent not getting anything. I think they just make the system very clear, and I think like clarity is very good. Also, they have the eye there where
I disagree a bit
whenever
with that because it's not very clear first. You have to read into it and play those.
I mean I think
If you compare it to like Magic, the card says instant, and then you're just told that now this can be played anytime, and then sorcery, this can be only played on your turn, is a lot more distinct. But I think that plays also into the stack system of the game that Runeterra doesn't really allow that kind of clarity, so they have kind of like made the best that they can do with it.
I
Also,
actually
also focus was added, I think like a year ago or something like that. It's a relatively
I
new
think it's
mechanic.
been a little bit more than that, but it's more of a recent mechanic. Yeah, it wasn't there at the start. Like at the start, it was just slow burst and so fast and burst.
Yeah.
But I actually I think it's the same case for Magic as well. When like when you play it, then you understand it quickly. But beforehand, you don't know. Like when I got into Magic,
Yeah, but
I
also the
didn't
name,
understand it.
instant and sorcery, you can just kind of like figure out. But if you're told like focus or burst and fast, well, it's a bit
I
more
think
hard to figure it out.
I think slow, fast, and burst makes more sense to me in that regard. But that's we can
Yeah,
agree
they
to
do,
disagree.
but then there's um well, focus, which
Yeah, but like, focus is the more complex one for sure. But that's I can agree with. It can be confusing, but for the other three, I think they're
yeah.
even more clear. But overall, yeah,
And the
the
thing
more
you were about to say, I fucking hate the eye.
yeah, I mean, like I can see like things like I always think like when you make things easier just for the sake of making things easier, it's like kind of uh it's not great, but at the same time just accessibility when you already have something like a card game which is complicated. I think it's nice, a nice addition. Like you
It
don't
is
need to use
definitely
it most of the
it
time,
is
but
definitely a necessity, I think, even though I don't like it, but because the game also tries to appeal at the same time to competitive people, card game veterans, and also new people, casual players that only want to enjoy their favorite champion in a different game and stuff like that. So it's something you kind of need. Necessary evil, if you feel will for me.
yeah.
But yeah.
But yeah, lengthy discussion. Where would you put the game? I'm curious to hear that
Oh,
first.
well, I think I'm gonna ask, but it's ask getting too crowded at the end of the day. So maybe top of A.
Yeah, because like I
It is
was
up.
also
It is up
thinking,
there, top five, probably my favorites.
I also think A. Like that's what I was
Let's
thinking
put
as
it
well. It's
first on
like
A.
I think it just has a lot of things going on for it, and it's like it nails a lot of the aspects that, especially a digital card game. Like
Yeah.
once, like it's free to play friendly, it's very accessible, but you can also have fun with it if you're a card game veteran. It looks pretty. I just think it nails most of
Oh,
the
and a
things
little
most people
detail
think.
that Runeterra does really well is that you get daily rewards with playing your friend. I think that's very nice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Not too many
That's
card games, at least, didn't do it back in the day, and that was
yeah.
sad.
Hearthstone didn't have it initially as well. Like
No.
that's a pretty recent thing, and I know like because I played Gwent the friend, and you can't do any uh, dailies. You don't get anything from playing with friends, and I think that's a big L
Yeah, I think
for
you should
card games.
always reward your players by playing with their friends. It is
Yeah,
very
because
good.
they're getting more people into it as well.
That's
So
how
yeah,
you
I
play
definitely
card games with your friend. So,
yes.
anyways, let's do next. Grand Archive.
Okay. All right. So I played this game once with a London deck from my boy here, and fun. I think. I think it's like it's sort of for me like serves a similar purpose that something like Digimon does, where it's just like I can kind of just do my thing and not think of it too much.
Yeah,
That makes
kind of.
sense.
Well, this is another anime version of Magic the Gathering. Only
Mm-hmm.
this time they are doing it very well, and also they are giving reasons to play this game over Magic.
Mm-hmm.
I think they did really good job with Grand Archive. It was a Kickstarter game from TCG fans, or
Mm-hmm.
like a small team that loved to play card games and now wanted to make their own. And
Yeah.
it got launched, and it was very good, well received. The competitive scene, from what I heard, is healthy, but the game is not too popular, so it's not too big, so there's not too much buzz about it. Um,
I
Now
will say the name of the developers being Weebs of the Coast is insane to me.
that is very good,
That is
fucking great.
insane
That
that
is
they
fucking great.
actually the Mad Lads actually did that. That's insane.
Yeah, that is
That's
great.
big ball energy.
Yeah, but I think also that is something that they probably didn't expect to
Of the
like
popularity.
yeah,
Gotcha.
because like you do something like that with your friends and well, let's call it this and just go have fun with it, but then it gets big and now it's like, but it's a good thing. Anyways,
Yeah.
so the gameplay depth of the game. Oh, actually, I think I should talk about on the resource system and the hero system first, because the
Mm-hmm.
resource system is really amazing. It's something that not at least from what I've seen any other card game does. So basically, when you cast a spell, it says like this costs three. It's not three mana, but it's like three resources, whatever it was called. I can't remember. But you have to put down on your resource zone now three cards from your hand, any card of your choosing, and you get those cards back to your hand next turn. But now you can also interact with this zone with some cards that maybe you, like the deck I play, it wants to banish arcane spells from to a banish zone wherever they go from, and one of the mechanics is to get them from your resources. Now you have like all this stuff interacting with each other, which like adds to the depth of the game, and I really like that. Also, I think that Flesh and Blood does well is people always enjoy drawing bunch of cards or like adding a lot of cards to hand because that just feels good for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
So now that you get to draw a card a turn, now you can add your stuff back to your hand, and now you just get to put cards here and there, and it's really awesome. And the hero system where you can like level up the hero, which also like costs cards from your hand, is just something that also adds to the game because now you have a decision: do I stay level 2 and rush? Do I go level 3, which is more expensive, but now I have better late game, and yada yada yada. And then you
Yeah.
also have the extra artifacts that you can play from your deck that adds like a little thing. They can't be too powerful because they are cards that you basically tutor out of the game to the game, but they
Mm-hmm.
are. It's a very cool system, and the card designs are very akin to Magic. It's not too much to talk about them. You have lightning bolts, you have dudes, you have more dudes that
Yeah.
ramp up and anything.
So yeah, I don't have much to add to that. I don't have much to say about the game overall. I think it's a fun game, but they're like it's it's a weird game for me because it's it's in this like weird limbo between like having elements to me about like two other games that I enjoy playing a lot. So to me it ends up being like okay, but would I want to play this over those games, which isn't really a fair comparison, but also like apart from the resource system, which I do agree with you, I think the resource system is cool. Like the being able to evolve your whatever heroes they were called in the
I
game.
think.
Yeah, those are neat. But apart from that, like the resource system is the only like really interesting thing to me about
Yeah.
the game. But I'm also like I'm obviously this is like very subjective. Like I'm biased in some regards, and to me, like I don't know, Grand Archive is fun, but it's just that. Like to me, it's just a fun game, but it's like it doesn't awaken like many emotions in me like some other games here do. And I also think with like it has like very generic looking anime art, which I think they're pretty, but I think ultimately it lacks some personality.
Yeah, the card design, I agree with that. It kind of lacks personality. They are pretty, but they just are. But I think though the economy of like pulling boosters is done very well in Current Archive because they have their chase cards, but they also have like they use the foiling very sparingly, which is
Mm-hmm.
also plus side on them because they don't need to pay more to foil the cards.
Mm-hmm.
But now there is more incentive to pull for those cards from boosters,
Mm-hmm.
and they're kind of also the chase cards. So the foils are rare, and it's a good thing. Because like
Yeah, I mean,
Magic has done the thing where you get like 16 different arts with different extended foil
yeah,
hollows,
it's
whatever.
it's kind of ridiculous. It's definitely like that's definitely a great thing to like actually because like there are a lot of people who like for many card games who actually just like they just like collecting stuff, and I
Mm.
think it's like cool that
So
some
anyway,
card games actually tailor
we
to
slapped this
those.
on A, I think. How about you? In front
That's
of
fair because
Pokemon, I would put.
like I would have placed it the like number one in B, so I think A is very fair.
All right, next one. We talk about Shadowverse a bit. Another
Sure.
digital card game.
So I played some Shadowverse. Which I played Bloodcraft and
Yep, the vampire lolly thing.
Shadowcraft,
Yep, the necromancy lolly thing.
and then you had
See a pattern here?
the come on, man. And then there was also I can't remember if I played a lot, but I remember there was also the was it Swordcraft that had the
Yeah,
no Dragoncraft was the what was the one where you had like more mana than whatever, and then
Dragoncraft.
oh yeah that
They
like
ramp
that
and
was
play
pretty
big
cool.
dragons.
And then I also played Forestcraft, which was like just token stuff.
Yeah,
It
that was
was
the lolly elf.
I hate it here, but yeah. Anyways, the game itself, I think it's fun. I what I liked probably the most was just like the also the this like going a bit ahead of getting a bit ahead of myself, but like the class system in Hearthstone, the archetype, like I've talked about those a lot, but I think like having very distinct like personality to the decks that each of the I'll just call them classes in the game like have, I think it's
Yeah,
great. I think it adds a lot, and you're
it's done
like,
very well in Shadowverse.
and you can display a lot of personality like this fucker who literally I don't think ever played anything but Minecraft with the side of Swordcraft.
I've played more Swordcraft than Runecraft, I think.
Gotcha.
Yeah, well, I played Runecraft the first like 3 years, and then I started playing Swordcraft because there wasn't many interesting prints coming to Runecraft. So I just really loved. It is the only game actually that I have played more other stuff than spell stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
I really love the spell. What's the name of the thing? Spell spell boost system, where the more spells you play, the card's cost get lower, or like the damage or the effect they do is gets bigger.
Yeah.
It's really good, but it's also a bit frustrating because
Mm-hmm.
it's very hard to balance because you get really powerful spells for too cheap, but if they come out too quick, then it's broken. But if they come too late, then you can't do anything. You just get rushed down in every game. That is one of the reasons I stopped playing that
Mm-hmm.
spell stuff in the game. But I think it's
Gotcha.
more competitive version of Hearthstone. That's how I would describe it. It doesn't have RNG like that. Has some RNG in cards itself, apart from like being a card game RNG. Um, and the competitive scene is really healthy in Shadowverse. The resource
I guess
system is just the normal. It's the base. Not
it's the
much
base
to
you
say
get more
about.
mana, but with the addition of the evolution points.
Yeah, the evolution point system is good. It's
Yeah,
nothing like too groundbreaking, but it's great because now you have something extra incentive to factor in your deck building. To like
yeah. And I
have
think it's just,
slots where you just want to use your level points too.
and I also think like evolving stuff, just that also just gives you bigger, better effects. Is it just satisfying? And I think like
Yeah, it is.
games being satisfying is obviously
Yeah, it
very
is.
important. So
Oh yeah, it's definitely a card game I've played a lot. I don't enjoy it much anymore because there's
mhm.
been a lot of power creep and then weird cards being printed that I don't like. But I think I played the game like almost 2,000 hours. And
You
I've been grandmaster in it for like 2 years, three,
you played it
no,
for
four, three,
a
4 years
lot
or
at some
something.
point.
Yeah, I'll log in sometimes to see what is going on if there's been fun stuff. But the mid-range stuff in Shadowverse, it was really fun
Mhm.
when it was fun. Because
I think like
you just played dudes. Some dudes just cleared the board. Some dudes were big threats. Some dudes were finishers. Some dudes were developing the board. And the more dudes you played, the better they got. So it was a game that taught me a lot about like board states and tempo for um, minions and shit like that.
yeah, I think like Shadowverse and Hearthstone might be the close. I don't know if Digimon Duel Masters is like closer. I think Shadowverse Hearthstone
It is
might be
probably,
the
I agree with it.
closest thing here because it's like you have the classes, they have their distinct things. Because even in like Gwent, you have multiple leader abilities you can pick for the faction. In Shadowverse and Hearthstone, you just have when you pick your class, you have the one here, let's call it here like the universal class
Yeah,
power for that
yeah.
class, and that's it. And then it's
And
uh,
Shadowverse has been quite popular for quite long, so
what did Shadowverse? Could you play stuff during your opponent's turn?
no.
Yeah, even that's like the same thing. Like you literally you have very distinct turns. So to me,
That's one
like
thing I don't like about Hearthstone and Shadowverse. Shadowverse even doesn't have secrets
yeah, I was
like
just gonna
Hearthstone
say
does. Um, but the plus side, this isn't really a factor to the game as being a game, but as a game that you would stream, it
mhm.
is much better for it not to have like very engaging system like Runeterra it has because you don't have
Yeah, where you
time to
have to
talk.
be engaged at
Yeah,
the whole
yeah,
time. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. That's my point.
yeah. I think it has a lot of things going for it, but I would. This once again like it's hard to take bias out of everything, but I think like Shadowverse ultimately it's the cards are they're cute, the game is good, but once again I don't.
It's just anime Hearthstone, pretty much.
Yeah, it's just like the personality apart from like the classes. It's like it's I don't know. It's hard for me because it's like I guess since we're
And the
talking about anime.
anime low key sucks.
Oh, all right. Well, I didn't even know there was a Shadowverse anime,
And
so
also a side note that we can't really talk too much about the Shadowverse Evolved, which is the real life card game version of Shadowverse that got released here a few
mhm.
months ago, and it's been out for over a year in Japan. But
Mhm.
it's basically the same game, but the cards have been buffed and altered a bit to work better as a real life card game. And also, since the game has been power crept, they have like printed cards from um, the first sets, so they have to adjust the card's speed to kind of like where we
Oh
are
yeah,
now. So if you had like
that's
6 mana spells that did 2 3 3s, now it's like 4 mana spells doing 2 3 3s, stuff
gotcha.
like that.
Okay, but yeah, like where do we put Shadowverse? Because to me, like
I would
a
put
lot
it
of
in
the
front of Digimon, but you probably disagree with that. You probably put it behind Digimon.
yeah, because I'm just thinking somewhere in B, honestly, for
B?
me. But I think A is fair for it too. I think where you put it, I think that's
Yeah, this would be for me,
perfectly
but
fair.
I don't know. Maybe I enjoy nowadays playing Digimon more than Shadowverse, so I'm
That's fair.
fine with
Uh,
that.
should we do Hearthstone since it's very similar? A
Yeah, we
lot
can
of
do
things
Hearthstone.
we covered. So okay, here. Okay, this is probably gonna be the one which that I have just the most. This or Digimon is one that I have the most bias for. The game has so many flaws, like so many shitty things about it, but something about it just keeps me coming back. I don't know really what it is, but like out of
It's those flaws.
everything, we have to play that at some point here. Like, but out of everything here, the most consistently fun matchup that I have in any card game is me playing a rogue deck that's entirely stuff that just takes random shit from your class, and Yudo playing a mage deck that only does random spells. And that is consistently the most fun matchup in any card game that I have ever played.
Yeah, the thing is though that, well, it's Hearthstone's flaws that it generates random stuff. It is also its strongest point that
For
generates
sure.
stuff, because that
Because
keeps the game fresh. Also, now talking about the skill and RNG, you could say that Hearthstone is only RNG, but that isn't true, because usually in card games you have the puzzle you have made, that is your deck, and
mhm,
now the cards you get in relation to the opponent's card, you solve it. But in Hearthstone, every hand is kind of different if they were the same cards. Now you play this card, discover, you choose from three things what you need, and those three things are different cards every time, and you're playing against different opponent. If you were playing against the same opponent, still the same thing. It's a different choice every time, because like you have to factor in what they are playing and like what cards they are presenting, what kind of speed the game is going, what cards you need to fulfill your other cards requirements and stuff like that. So it has gone to a more of side of the deck building game like Slay the Spire, or like I would count TFT as a deck building game too.
yeah,
But it's more on that you are present at these puzzles all the time from your own cards that you have to solve, instead of like knowing your outs that come from your deck. Now you get random outs from your cards, so it's more interesting in that side nowadays.
yeah, I would agree with that. There also like there's definitely power creep when you look at stuff like at
Most
some
definitely.
point a 4 mana 4 or 5 was the default. Now you have 4 mana 5/4 with rush that also creates you two additional bodies that do these things, and it's like there's definitely power creep there. But and Hearthstone is, would you say Hearthstone is the easiest game here to get into, or would that be Pokemon? Which one would you think? I think it's one of those for sure.
Hearthstone.
Yeah, because I also agree. I think
Very,
Hearthstone is.
it's very simple at first. It's very simple cards, very simple designs, very simple UIs and everything like that. It's just super easy to get into and super easy to be engaged with. It's super
Yeah,
easy to get like your fixation, because now you generate random thing and you get lucky and super OP. You slam it in and you feel good. So
yeah.
yeah,
It's easy to get satisfying stuff to happen in the game.
but
I think
it's
it's like
also a thing that where there's a lot of skill to it as well.
you can definitely do well out of skill. Yeah, and it's
Because
like
the thing I was talking about before, it is also there's another side to it. Because um I've now climbed the legend sometimes,
mhm,
and there's a big difference between the ranks where people don't really know first what they are doing, then they know what cards they have, they generate cards and they kind of like play them right, but then they pick their wrong cards and they don't threaten your tempo or try to create their tempo at all. And then you get
mhm,
people that do that well, and it's a whole different game between those.
yeah, they're like you can
Because
definitely
like,
do a lot, but
well, I can paint a picture for this. It's very hard to explain if I don't give an example for this. Now,
mhm,
the opponent is not presenting lethal to you, but they have quite a big board. Now, a newer player would be incentivized to try to discover a card that deals with their board. But instead, a more like experienced player would be looking to discover a card that develops their board and sets up a lethal. So
mhm.
If I have 20 life, they have 10 um, power in the board in 2 minions. You don't want to remove the minion and like slow down your game when you could like use your dudes to set up a lethal and dig for a fireball, for example, instead of like death sentence or life sentence, or whatever the game was. That just removes the minion from the game.
Yeah.
So yeah,
There's
that's the thing.
there's the push and pull for sure. Like that also comes with when Hearthstone is another game, like we talked about earlier, where secrets are basically just the only thing that can happen
Yeah,
on your opponent's turn. Where other than that, like you're playing your turn and then doing things. And another thing that we didn't talk about Runeterra that also like Hearthstone and Runeterra have is basically I mean, it's even different. Where Hearthstone, you can play cards, you can play spells, you can attack whenever. Like it's very free flow. Where like Runeterra has the okay, you can do everything else, but you only get like one attack per turn. But Hearthstone, everything is very free flow, which also makes it like much easier to get into and easier to understand. And overall, it just I think it's like casually just
yeah.
the best experience.
It also has its like skill ceiling sides that you get the free
Hmm.
flow attack with stuff. Because
Yeah,
for example, you have a board wipe, like Hellfire in your hand, and you want to swing with your stuff first to maximize the face damage instead of like
yeah,
just
yeah, for sure.
slamming that in. But if you did that in Runeterra, now you have to like attack first, and then the board just changes, and maybe it's not the optimal play anymore.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like it's the adding the flexibility also adds a lot of like decision making there, which I think is great. But overall, like to me, Hearthstone is just a very easy card game to enjoy.
Yeah,
And uh as for the card arts, it's a digital card game where the legendaries sometimes get very cool effects, sometimes they're whatever. But
it's like mid
of
onion, I think.
yeah, everything there is. If you like want like stuff from World of Warcraft, most of the stuff is pulled. Actually, is it most or is it everything pulled from World of Warcraft?
Yeah, everything.
Okay, yeah, because I'm very unfamiliar with World of Warcraft, so it's if you like those things, you're gonna like this stuff in Hearthstone. But
I will say though, I agree with that, but the theme of Hearthstone, I think they nailed that really well. Because the theme of like sitting down in your tavern and having a
oh yeah,
game,
yeah, for sure.
I think that is
Yeah,
very. It's just a warm feeling that I like that the game gives you.
yeah, and I. I want to say Hearthstone was the first digital card game to give you like interactable boards.
It was the
So
first
my
digital card game, basically.
okay, yeah. So my ADHD brain likes that I can click on things while I'm waiting for my opponent to play that. So that's
Yeah.
a
So
nice
where do we
addition. But
put it? We get another
okay,
ask for this for sure,
now
right?
that's the thing, cause like it's just I don't know. It can be so dumb sometimes, but like I definitely think like I would put it in as
Yeah.
it has a lot of things that just make it very enjoyable.
Yeah. This is
And
Hearthstone gets way more points on being fun rather than anything else here.
yeah, it's if we're talking like the most competitive games
It will
here
be
on
down,
high level, it's very
down mid.
down.
Yeah.
But it's overall just it's a very fun card game. And now I need to take a piss, so you introduce Vanguard to the audience. I'll be right back.
Okay, so we folks has tried this game like once or twice, and it was the newest era of the game. What was it called? D, yeah, D, the standard, which they fixed a lot of stuff with the game. But this is basically my gateway to card games, and I still enjoy playing it. But there's many reasons why I love it, why I hate it. And firstly, the reasons I hate the game. It's very RNG based because of the trigger checks. There's not too much depth to it, and the way they rebooted the game like 3 times, that killed my collection and everything with it. So that is the shit sides of Vanguard. The good sides of it is also the trigger checks, which is very fun. It's just fun game to slap your things and cool units with your friend. I think the themes and arts of the game are fantastic, and the balance maybe not so much because we have Duke eras, we have Legion eras, we have G eras where they started to print cards that just you know destroyed the class system from the game entirely, which obviously it's not a good thing, and they had to reboot the game after that. The competitive scene of Vanguard it was okay. It is definitely better now, but I think the game is less popular than it was in G era. But it was a lot more hard to be
I'm back.
consistently. Hello? It was a lot hard. It's probably from all these games, Vanguard. It is the hardest game to be, or like the hardest game in a bad sense to be like consistently topping tournaments. Cause it's more RNG based than anything else here. I think it's easier in Hearthstone to like consistently top uh, tournaments than in Vanguard.
I th- I think it is like something that they like do like voluntary where they like what would that like overdrive stuff where it's like they literally like want there to be like these anime moments in the
Yeah,
game.
yeah, the over trigger. Yeah, they do that.
Yeah,
That is
over
a bad
trigger.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not overdrive. It's over
yeah, you
trigger.
just
Yeah.
have to have those cool like anime plot twist, powerful um moves that they kind of fail to do. So they just fuck the game up. But yeah, you haven't really
Yeah.
played this game. How would you say the art and themes are in this game? You're familiar
I
with the
think
cards though.
the deck that I played with the cats and thing, like it was just like very pretty anime arts. I think like I definitely think it's like on the stronger side for sure. Like
Yeah.
that deck that I played with like the nature themes and that like it was just like cutesy animals and stuff like that. And then there was the I think you had the deck with like the white knights or some
Yeah,
you had
I had them all.
yeah, you
I
had the
played the
Victor.
White Knights. Yeah.
I remember the Victor Rush thing. Those like designs were whatever to me, but like the one with the White Knights, I can't remember the archetype, but like those were very pretty. So like to me, they're like on the
It
like side of
was
like
it was
prettier
it was
stuff.
Keter Sanctuary Royal Paladin deck with it was Apex Bastion.
Yes, 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 exactly.
That name was
So
fucking amazing.
Avis Bastion is a really cool name.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because also how the deck played that you had to like check create threes
yeah.
and your card name was Apex Bastion and it was really cool like White Knight art that was like awesome.
The play by was cool. Like I remember that was like
The anime is
interesting.
really cool.
I remember you at some point like always reciting the like one scene that was neat.
Yeah, yeah, that is like one of my best laughs ever where Morikawa tries to introduce the main character of G to the game and explains the G assist system. That was fucking
Crossfire.
awesome. But anyways, heart to my heart, I have to pull this down from top tiers. It is top 5 of my all-time favorite card
Yeah, I
game.
was gonna say like there was a point where you were obsessed with this game.
Yeah, I started with it and
It's
it is still very fun. And I love the game, even top 3 game. And I had
it's
tons of fun with Asha.
I think it's fun. Like so like my experience we played some with like on like tabletop and then I got like some soda decks. Like it's cool. It's kinda like I think it's in the like same sort of like batch with to me in terms of like just purely just enjoyment as Grand Archive for me.
Hmm.
But actually, if like gun to my head, like pick like you have to play one of these two and you can only pick one, I think I would say Vanguard actually.
Oh, interesting.
It's like I think they are very close to me like in terms of enjoyment, but like both of them like have their like uh positives and negatives. But
Yeah.
I genuinely think like I it's very close, but I think like if I had to pick between
The
one of
big
them,
part
like I would
about
be
Vanguard's enjoyment for me was that we started to play competitively, like nationally, with my
yeah.
friend, and we traveled to play. We did very well in the
Mhm.
game, often versing in finals with each other.
You are very good at the game.
Mm, as hard as it is to be good at that game, it was just the players in that
Consistency.
scene where I don't want to mock people, but not the best players.
Yeah, you're just being humble. He's just
No,
being humble, guys. But
no,
yeah,
because like the statistics for Vanguard Worlds were that we didn't really have same people in like top 16. hardly ever. So
Ah,
that is
gotcha.
saying a
So
lot. So we
yeah,
good it being be under Quent.
I think that's like very fair because like I think for me like it would also like go somewhere in B, and I think like if you just objectively looking at things, I think do think that like no, if you just look at things like Garant Archive is a better game. It's just like to me like the enjoyment to me is just a tad bit more, but I definitely think the placement is
All
very
right, we'll
fair.
save Magic the Gathering last one because it's like the
So
grandfather of card games. So we'll do
yeah,
Flesh and Blood. I'll just eat.
I'll
No,
I'll just like
fucking
I'll
here.
give you more here because spoiler alert, this is like this is definitely your main game
It
at
is
least.
my favorite game.
It's like it's your main game. You tried explaining some of the things to me. Uh, let's just say like according to the things there, like I'm not the brightest fella, but this is a hard game. This is a really fucking hard game, and I guess that's part of why you like it. So
Yeah, I think
the floor is yours.
it's the hardest game out of all of these card games that you can have.
Hmm.
For now, the arts and themes of the game are good. They nail what they are trying to do. You have your hero and your equipments, and now you're the hero just pulling your stuff off the deck and presenting attacks and spell and whatnot. It's not something that would be extremely appealing to a lot of people, I think. Like for you, it is very realistic. But then,
Yeah, I will say like the card arts they're meh to me.
yeah,
They're
the
pretty boring to me.
the competitive scene. This is a game that I have now traveled and played and done very well with. The competitive scene and the people you have there compared to Magic. It's fucking awesome. The competitive scene is very healthy. A big meta game. You can play any hero and top 8 with it if you know your stuff. Any hero
Hmm.
in the game. That's very rare for a card game to do. Also, we play only best of ones, which is also very rare for card games to do. In
That
there,
sounds sus.
yeah, at first, but it's very amazing. And then you consistently have the same people doing well, but you also
I was
don't feel like that. At least to me, it feels like that they're just doing better, but there is stuff that I know that I can do better to beat those people. So it's not like defeating, for example, if you played like chess,
mhm,
it feels more defeating or like you're more walled to like feel like you could win, if you get
mhm.
what I mean.
Gotcha. Yeah, I gotcha.
The depth
I
of the
was just,
game, the depth of the game,
before you move, I just
yeah,
wanted to ask about the because how would you like how much RNG would you say there is? Like literally just like what you draw and
not much,
that's it.
not
Okay,
much.
yeah. Because I was just gonna say like I
Less
think
than normal card game RNG. Obviously, you have
gotcha.
RNG because there is that thing where you obviously have in this game your power cards as well for a class,
Hmm.
and then you draw your hands because every end of your turn you draw 4 cards.
Hmm.
So you could have very good offensive hands, you could have very good defensive hands because every card you have is either resource, either attack, either defense,
Hmm.
and you with those 4 cards you have 81 different combinations you can play these cards. So if the opponent is presenting you with their power turn and you have a good answer to that, well, now it sucks and you kind of have to climb back. But usually you dig through your decks enough to like climb back from that too. They kind of like even out themselves because you get your power turns and they probably don't have their power turns to answer that because they use
Hmm.
theirs. So, but it's still obviously RNG is involved in that, but less so than other card games, I think.
Yeah, gotcha. Because I think like that's the one thing where like best of one to me sounds like okay, that screams inconsistency. But
You know, it's
then if
actually just very
it's a
consistent.
little place,
It
yeah,
is
because that's
super.
like I think it has to be to validate playing best of one. So
Yeah, and
that's then cool.
the game is very heavy on math because every card has their values, and the value system of the game are how it's designed. It is very good and it's very clear.
Mm-hmm.
and well, the hero I play essentially cheat everything because usually the hero starts in 40 health. Mine starts with 30, but I get to play in instant speed if I use a lot of resources to do that. I basically flip my top deck and I get to play that in instant speed. There's ways to manipulate my top deck, tutors, putting cards from hand to my top deck, and yeah, stuff like that. So the
Fair.
game mechanics are just really good because of the four card hands and how you can use the cards. And when you use them as resources, like let's say your card costs 2 to play, it's an attack that deals 6 damage. You play the card, you have to pay the cost. You pitch card from your hand, uh, depending on its color. If it's red, um, if it's a red, 2 cost 6 attack. It gives you 1 resource. If it's yellow, 2 cost attack, it gives you 2 resources, but now it deals only 5 damage. And then if it's blue, which is like maximum resources you got, it is 3 resources, costs 2, but it swings for 4. So it's a trade-off that the more resources it gives you, the less good it is for attack.
Hmm.
So the cards you use as a resource goes to the bottom of your deck, and now you can like stack those cards and then forge perfect hands for the second cycle if that is what the matchup is going into. So
Gotcha.
it's very interesting. There's a lot of depth to like every hand you play, every matchup you play, and it's just very fun to be like the better player in the game.
How much would you say an average meta deck costs?
Oh, they are expensive. they
Like
this game is
on
expensive.
average, how much are you paying for a meta deck?
If you want fully optimized meta deck, on average $800.
Jesus Christ. Okay, because to me, like uh, Magic Modern and then Yu-Gi-Oh. I like my standards, like
Mm.
very up to date Yu-Gi-Oh meta deck and like Magic Modern. I like to me that what I think of expensive. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's a lot. All
But
right.
the thing,
Yeah.
but the thing though for it is that most of your deck's price comes from your equipment, which are kind of universal most of the time, not always, obviously.
Mhm.
But um, it is easy game to like get into. Apart from it, like it's kind of simple. It's not like
I call cap.
yeah, let me explain. It's not as simple as other games you can get into, but just playing the game with low power decks where you just swing and block and stuff like that is
Mhm.
it's not hard. It's easy to understand. And the decks for that are not expensive because you don't necessarily need the equipments to get into the game. So you can get your deck for like $40 maybe.
Gotcha.
But now
All right.
if you want to min max optimize the deck, you maybe have to buy like $300 $200 equipment for it. So you get like maybe like +1 value compared to other equipment
I'll
per turn.
all right. Gotcha. I'll have more to say about it. I'm looking forward to the video guide by Yudo how to get into how to get started in Flesh and Blood. I'm looking forward to that. But yeah.
Nah, nah. And also the thing that is very fun with Flesh and Blood that usually in card games, you ramp up your deck's power level because you ramp up your
Hmm.
resources. But in Flesh and Blood, you start with full power.
Basically like Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah,
Like you're the strongest at the start of the game.
but
Gotcha.
also at the same time you have resource system that you can't always um be the most powerful because you also have to block those cards. Because the game flow usually goes like if you start the game, we're not talking about turn zero here, it's a bit different, but like now it's your
Hmm.
turn, and let's say you have full hand, you take everything to your face. You have full hand, you use your attacks, and then the opponent has to defend with their cards. So maybe
Hmm.
you swing for 6, and usually each card defends for 3. So you use 1 card for resource, 1 card for attack. The opponent defends with 2 cards. Now you're equal with that, and nothing happens really.
Hmm.
The opponent goes to their turn. At the end of your turn, you draw up to 4. To 4. And now they play their turn. They only have those 2 cards in their hand, so they are now weaker to attack. And now they present their attack to you, and maybe you give 1 card to
Hmm.
block and leak a little bit of damage. And now you have 3 cards to attack with. And now you
Yeah,
have
gotcha.
tempo up to the other player. There's also Arsenal where you get to store 1 card, so you can play 5 card hands. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, so it's very good um, in that flavor. Also, the game is heavy on like snowballing your mistakes. If you do very bad first turns, those consequences will bite your ass later because
Gotcha.
they just have like a big snowball coming at you and a lot of the climb.
Okay. I have no more questions. Cast your judgment. I'm assuming
A fucking
wherever
best
you
game.
play. Yeah, I was gonna say like where you place it. I assuming that's weird. Like, and then like from what you've said, from what I've heard, like it definitely sounds like a good game. I think there is a good reason why like
It
suddenly
is
out of nowhere
it
I
is
started
the
the
it
game
is the
and everyone
fighting
plays.
game card game.
Hmm.
It has exactly the same type of tempos and like stuff that you would do in fighting game, but now you're doing it with cards.
So I need to use my brain, and that's why
Yeah.
that's where it goes over the edge for me. But yeah, I think where you place this is very fair from what I've like heard and from you and other people and what
and
I've seen. Like I
and
think there's a reason why like
yeah,
so many people
the card game
are playing this.
launched, the card game fell, the card game got that back up to again and is heavily booming, so it's here to stay. It's very good.
Hmm.
The people that play the game are like there was people that were like 50 years old playing the game. It was like most of the people are at their 30s that are best in the game,
Hmm.
and it's very young to be under 20 to like play. Um, at least from what I've seen, like at the top level of Flesh and Blood, and
Gotcha.
that everyone is being such a honorable, like gentle people. If they lose, they are like, "Oh, okay, good game, dude," and fist bump and everything, and discuss about the game. And nobody's like trying to nitpick their rules and getting a little edge here and there, unlike in Magic.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think that's probably everything about that. Unless there's something else you wanna
Well, that was
add to
a lot faster than I thought, but yeah,
it.
I don't want to ramble
And
too much alone about Flesh and
final.
Blood.
Yeah, I
Oh,
mean,
also I'll mention that the deck I play, it is by far my favorite deck in any card game ever. In any card game. If that deck wouldn't exist, I wouldn't rate Flesh and Blood that highly. But the game allows um, Kano to exist, so it is just the most perfect deck for me. You get to sling your spells, play in instant speed, you play tempo, you can play on your opponent's turn, on your own turn, to deviate like your threats when you want to push damage, when you want to plus value, because they have
mhm.
to block also. And then you have one turn combo kills, and you have also RNG to it.
So there's
It is,
variance to that
yeah,
as well.
it is kind of the worst deck in the game. But like people say, if the Kano pilot is good, it is probably the best deck in the game. But they have to be like extremely fucking good with it.
That's cool. But yeah, shall we move on to the final
Yeah, we
thing?
did
And
Magic.
I
We
think
slap it
we
in
can.
S.
I was just gonna say I think we can start with you putting it top of S.
Yeah,
I don't think there is an argument for it
probably not.
because I can start this thing with saying I do not enjoy Magic the Gathering in its traditional form. I do not enjoy playing Magic the Gathering 1v1. I played during the Ixalan block. I enjoyed slapping things with my Carnage Tyrant, but it got pretty dull for me and I like didn't have the greatest time with it. But I think commander format in Magic Gathering and being able to play card games in a multiplayer setting with just your friends slapping down like cards, playing longer games where you get to see cool effects that you normally don't. I think there is nothing that comes close to that when it comes to
Yeah,
just enjoying
and
card games.
also the multiplayer format has like a healthy dynamic of if the four people play the same deck for 5 games, each one of those games will feel different because how the
Yeah.
interactions go between 4 players. It is very great.
And that
Also, I
is
will talk more about the competitive side of Magic, which is obviously is super competitive and very healthy. They have done a fair bit of power creep, which is sad in the recent years.
Yeah, I think a lot of like some of the power creep definitely comes from Commander as well because it's so popular
Yeah.
And bro, one thing that is ridiculous is the amount of product that they are printing. It is
Yeah, that has gone
insane.
very out of hand. I don't like it.
And yeah, like before you go more into detail with the 1v1 formats, I will just say like I rate this as the best card game out there, with me completely ignoring the like basically half of the
Yeah,
entire game.
the thing though about like the mechanics and stuff with Magic, if you are trying to imagine making your own card game, it is like kind of very hard to knock out the systems that Magic has done, in a sense that if you're trying to imagine what kind of resource system I'm doing, first thing that comes to your mind is Magic, or like the um what are they called? Like the creature systems, the spell systems, all the
Yeah, yeah.
systems are from Magic the first things you think of and get influence from.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I will say have to address one thing about Magic,
the
and
lands.
that is I despise lands as a resource system. I've been I've you heard me say this many times, but I fucking hate the fact that I'll, especially in Commander, most of the expenses for your deck are actually gonna be your resources. I despise that. I do not like the resource system as like the resource being something that you actually put a lot of money into and then you have better resources as others, which is why I think like digital card games are nice because the resources are always the same for
Hmm.
both players. And additionally, obviously, sometimes you just don't draw lands. Usually, like you will draw lands, but it's just like if your deck is built properly. But there will be some times when you're drawing too many lands or you're not drawing lands at all, and it feels terrible. And
Yeah,
that's the one gripe that I have with Magic is that where I praise Digimon and Runeterra for and even Grand Archive for their resource systems. I legit think Magic has the single worst resource system out there. I know that I'm biased in this because I think like stuff like Hearthstone, it's just like a very boring. It's not an interesting resource system, but I think it's always balanced. And I think the one gripe that I have with Magic is the resource system. But that's I
I understand you, but
definitely know that it's
I have to disagree with that.
yeah, I know it's a me
But
problem, but
it's
just something I wanted to address.
it's more of a like gameplay format problem. Because like in competitive, it definitely has its flaws, but it adds a layer to the deck building, and also it adds a layer to the gameplay itself. Because we can now imagine a scene where um, two people are playing mirror matchup against each other with same decks,
Mm-hmm.
and the other player is throwing more lands than the other player. Let's say they are playing white weenies. The other player that is playing more lands cannot match the player um like playing less lands and more dudes on the board, with like speed of the board, right? So they
Mm-hmm.
have to now adapt their game plan to uh into like playing a big dude that like evens out the board and wins in the long run if they have the time for that. And now the other player has to like try to rush them down before that happens, because they are not throwing lands and they are just throwing like 2 mana dudes, 1 mana dudes after each other. So that is an interesting thing for
Yeah, that's fair.
it, which it allows and adds depth to the game. But it
That's
also
very fair.
has its flaws, like you said.
Yeah, but I, for the most part, I think Magic is just the gold standard when it comes to card games, and that's why
Well,
I
most
think it's
definitely, because it's a game that every card game tries to beat.
basically yeah, and none of them managed to do that, and probably will not do that in many years because like the amount of I I feel like every month I see new people just getting into Magic. If if it's not true Commander, even sometimes like people just feel like trying it just because like okay I play some other card games, but maybe I should give this one a try because it's like just the gold standard. But I definitely do think that a lot of the credit does also go to Commander for just being able to just play things multiplayer instead of like having to play uh, a 1v1. I think is a thing that most games benefit from, and there is a reason why most uh, popular games are team games. Everyone always likes complaining about their teammates, likes complaining about it's not me, but there's definitely other things to it as well, like when you're just playing with multiple people rather than having
Yeah,
all
it's
the pressure.
always more fun to play with people than alone.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know what else to really say about it. What do you think that there's some things that we should change on the list? And I think like finally after we'll
Yeah, I gotta say about Magic though that I think it's
Mhm.
competitively top two, top three most skill based game here.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think I'd say that. But how
Yeah,
about the art and themes of Magic? Because it's not anime, it's not big
it
dragons
has
mostly.
it has kind of everything for everyone. I
It's
enjoy
just
the
high
like
fantasy.
more yeah, I enjoy the more like cartoony things like for sure. My
Realistic high fantasy, but that is what
myself
appeals to like most of people.
yeah, it's very inoffensive and like the variety is just one of its strengths because like
Yeah,
people like you have just regular people for people that like these things for people who like cool things like me you have cool looking dinosaurs and dragons that are there so it's just like
it has very strong themes.
yeah for sure and it's like overall I just think like it's very inoffensive
And that is
and
shown
it just
very well in Commander format, where you can create decks where goblins have only hats, and you can make
yeah,
decks that have only spells. Can have like you can build decks based around game plan, around like concepts and synergies, combos,
yeah
arts, themes.
you have stuff that's like clearly better than some other stuff but also at the same time when you're playing a multiplayer game, if you have a person who has a clearly better deck than others and a person who has a clearly worse deck than others, the games tend to balance themselves out because if assuming everyone's trying to win, which I'm guilty of not often doing, but in a way, in a situation where everyone is trying their best to achieve victory, then there tends to be more focus on the stronger deck and less focus on the
Yeah,
weaker deck, which balances the game state out, which is
yeah. It's definitely
a thing that
the
multiplayer does as well.
rule the rule zero is a tough subject for a lot of people in Commander, but I think ultimately people just should try to win, but it shouldn't be important who wins.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to
Because
put it. Where
if people are trying to get the best and most interesting things out of their cards, you get like the most interesting games, and
yeah,
it doesn't matter who wins them. But
yeah,
if people are just playing like asses from turn zero, it gets very clown fiesta, and there's no really value to it.
yeah, that's a very valid point. When I'm now looking at the list, I kind of actually like it as it is.
I do
Do
too.
you think there is?
I could probably pump up Runeterra to S tier. I think it's more close to Hearthstone than Digimon.
Mm, that's I think that's fair. I think also like one would be interesting. Like we can do this like it doesn't have to be here. We can do it after, or we can do it like after we're done with everything for sure. But I think like just ignoring literally everything that we've now established during all this time, and just if you just go by your personal enjoyment, what would your list look like? But that can be something for we can do at the very end. But
Yeah, we can do
I
that.
think as things are now, actually, I think it's kind of I think it's a good list.
Yeah, we'll go with this one. That was a long ass video.
Yeah, that was
Shy over 2 hours.
it's the ultimate tier list
Yeah.
for card games. But now, very end, what would your if you had to make a list where it's literally just your personal enjoyment? That's not new. It's not new for you. Put it back there.
it's, a,
What would your
it's a
list look like
fucking
if it's
ass.
literally? like just your personal enjoyment. I think mine would be like probably this. Yeah,
Um,
I think that.
I'm out with this.
So this can be interesting. Like if we look at like what the how
Yeah,
different
hold on.
ours are. Yeah, it's all good. But
Yeah,
yeah, I think that would
I
be mine.
think
If it's
I think I'm confident with this one. Yeah,
gotcha.
yeah,
Yeah.
all this one I'm confident with. Let's see how your list is
See,
looking like.
that's very right.
Okay, Magic Hearthstone, Digimon. Yeah, yeah. Okay, I can see that.
So yeah, basically in so in summary, like my taste with card games is stuff where I don't have to think is what I enjoy, and for you, it's like as much stuff where I can think as much as possible.
Pretty much, yeah.
Is and then there's like we both like rate stuff like Hearthstone and Runeterra pretty highly
Yeah,
just because it's casual fun.
the thing is though, I don't know if it's like ego insecurity or whatever, but like, if I'm playing the worst deck and I win, I feel like I'll win because I was much better player than the other player, even when I had the worst player. And now there's people that is commanding me because I played the worst deck and won. So yeah, it feels better than just
I think that's a
take the best deck and win with it. Now I feel like this deck is doing all the work rather than me.
yeah, I think that's a great mentality to have because like you have the other side to it as well, where it's like if you win, it's like oh I beat you with a bad deck. But
It's
if
just
you lose, then if that's where the problem comes. If when you lose, then you're like, oh, I lost because I'm playing a bad deck. I think that's where it gets problematic. But if you're just
yeah,
taking the
it's
like,
just
hey,
everybody
I can
loves
be
an
proud.
underdog story.
Yeah, exactly. I definitely
Because
agree
it
with
really
that.
feels
But
good when I'm playing like, because I'm the only person really who plays in Kano tournaments in Finland,
mhm,
and like um I've topped most of those tournaments, and
yeah,
every time my games are like usually 5 to 10 minutes long. The game usually lasts like half an hour to 50 minutes.
mhm.
So nobody really gets to spectate me, but people update the Discord, like the judge update the Discord. The Kano is 1-0, the Kano is 2-0, the Kano is 4-0, and the people are starting to buzz over on Discord like, holy shit, he's doing it, and I'm like, yeah, I'm doing it. you
Yeah, I
know,
think it's like
it's
it's very
rewarding.
rewarding to feel pride about stuff like that. I think that's a great thing. But
Yeah, and
yeah,
the first tournament I got into, um, it was third round, going in the third round, because you have to present like your deck, like saying what hero you play against your sideboard according to
mhm.
hero before you play the game. So I was like, I sat down, I was like, I'm playing Kano, and the dude's like, okay, wait, hold on, you're playing Kano? Oh shit! And then everybody started to buzz over there that oh somebody's playing Kano. Where's the Kano player? And they started to come like around me, and I made like
Mhm.
top 8, and then people were like, hey, what the hell? We have Kano in top 8.
That's so sick.
And it was also like inspiring another player to play in nationals with Kano.
Okay, that's I mean that's great. Stuff like that is just great.
Yeah,
And yeah, we should probably wrap things up here since it's been so long already. But let's just see.
I
You
know.
guys are probably gonna hear about Yuda and his Kano stuff a lot more in the future.
I don't know. We'll see. I probably focus more on like digital card games.
Fair enough.
The space with Flesh and Blood is not too big on the internet with content creation, so
Yeah, but yeah, this was a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean you know I always enjoy
they're a good
a good
tier list.
discussion about a tier list. So thanks for having me here. It was a
Yeah,
lot of fun
thanks for
talking
coming
about
over.
these things. So
A good shit.
yeah,
Goodbye.
thanks for having me and peace.